All right, again, we're back here at the Titleist booth, 2024 PGA show, and another man who needs no introduction, Mr. Aaron Dill. How are you, sir?
Brian, good to see you.
Great to see you again as well. And we're here again talking about wedges. And I know a lot of our fan base, a lot of our audience loves what goes on tour. We're a big what's in the bag site. I've got to think that you are extremely impressed. Brand new wedges, the adoption rate on tour. It seems like every what's in the bag we see, there's SM10s in the bag. How great has it been to see these new wedges making it in a bag so quickly on tour?
It's important for us to validate what we've done the last couple of years. To see so many players adopt it so quickly is obviously a very great thing for us. We're excited about that. But I sort of use that as a catalyst for what the entire 24 season will look like. Based on what we've seen the first few events, I think we're going to have a really great year. Yeah,
it was amazing because usually, when new product come out, you'll see a lot of people change quickly. But there's always some holdouts and some people who love some, older stuff or whatever. But yeah, it's been really impressive to see the biggest names as well as some names that aren't necessarily under a Titleist staff that all have these wedges in the bag. But when you're working with a tour player, what are the main things that these players look for when they do switch to a new wedge?
Well, to be fair, it has to check all the boxes, right? So they've spent a couple of years in SM9. They love it. They trust it. They believe in it. And to go to them and say, hey, I need you to try this new stuff, they do one of these. They're like, I don't know about that. I'm not feeling so comfortable. So, it's got to check the boxes on looks, feel. You have to have a variety of soles and bounces that they already know and they trust. And then you pack it full of CG and tech and spin, and the rest just kind of works out.
And then with these new players, like you said, there is the SM10 has a little different CG placement than the SM9.
Yes.
Does that affect the different grinds that some of these players will play? Like, will some switch out and say maybe something with a little less or a little more bounce depending on the flight they're looking for? Or do they typically stay with something that's a little more comfortable that they've used previously?
So once they find something they love and they trust, they typically will not steer too far away from it. You'll have a couple of golf courses throughout the year, like an Open Championship, where it gets super firm and crispy, to maybe a softer golf course like Muirfield Village, where it's just very different, soft and firm. And so that might get some players more encouraged about changing a sole or trying a different grind. But once they find it, they're in it. I think for us, it's just about again, checking off those boxes. I'm finding the proper flight spins and ground contact, that feel that's so important. And I think when you look at what SM10 is, it's really a culmination of all those things. It looks better, spins more, flight's better, and you get more options. It's kind of a home run for everybody.
That's definitely true. I told Bob earlier, I love the look of these new wedges. Now with the lower ball flight, I know that a lot of tour players we hear from, they're very, very particular about windows.
Yes.
And again, with the SM10 being a little flatter launching, a little lower launching, but still having a ton of spin, is that something that they have to get used to as well? Because I know in my fitting, it was definitely a different look. I'm somebody who's trying to hit it a little higher, and in that fitting, it was like, no, hit it low, penetrating, it'll spin, it'll stop, and once you trust it, it's there. But do you see similar things out on tour in those fits?
Well, it's a little different for us on tour because guys replace grooves so much faster.
Yeah.
I think when it's somebody like us, and we play 12 rounds a year, and we're still playing the old wedges we've had for a few years, that spin decay doesn't show overnight. So we're just sort of used to seeing that ball flight get higher and higher. When you get a fresh wedge in your hand, and it's packed with CG that makes the ball flight come down, it's a noticeably different flight with more spin. So that's a big part of it. But there are a couple key things with CG that we're focused on. The higher lofts being, we want it higher so that we get less dynamic lofting at impact. But what we're focusing on is just, again, that same tour feedback, which is, I want you to fix a couple shots that I'm struggling with, and one of those shots was my pitching wedge through 52, my 46 or 52 tend to be a little draw bias at times.
Oh, okay.
So not only are we moving that CG up and down, we're now driving it across the face to make sure that face closure rates are what they need to be based on club head speed and the type of shots you want to play.
Yeah, and I feel like even that is something that us amateurs who probably struggle with consistency a little less than the players on tour can benefit from that as well. Is that something? Because closure rate, I think, is something that you hear about in woods all the time, about being able to change that. And in wedges, you don't hear about it that much. But that does affect not only the professional game, but the amateur game, right?
Sure. I think whether or not you're the best player in the world or just a beginning golfer, everybody's problems are sort of the same, right?
Yeah.
You're just trying to fix some of those little issues that players struggle with. And so for us, it's really about refining some of those little problematic areas, regardless if you're the best or the worst. We just want to make sure that golf is a more enjoyable and easier thing to do, because it really is a challenging game, and if we can fix the little things, it makes golf more better.
That's right. So thank you very much, Aaron, for the time. Appreciate
got
it.
it.
It's awesome to see, like I said, the growth on tour. It's exciting to see more what's in the bags and more SM10s what's in those bags. So, like I said, go get fit, go check out the brand new SM10s, and just more for the PGA show. Thanks, Aaron.
Thank you, Brian.